What do the Portland Trailblazers and the year 2016 have in common? They're both some of the greatest things that have ever existed in the history of mankind. So what better way to experience both of them than to rebuild the Trailblazers starting from the 2015-16 NBA season. I'll be doing this in Hoopland, which is a nice little basketball game both on mobile and PC. It's a great game. I recommend you check it out and I love it a lot. So I wanted to make a video on it. I want to keep this rebuild somewhat realistic as it is very easy to take advantage of the weak AI in this game to build a superstar team. So I'll be trying to keep trades realistic so that I guess can be not trading for a young player with high potential that's still on a rookie contract, not trading my whole roster to get one 5-star player, not trading picks for picks. It's very easy in this game to get future draft picks by doing that. I've also given myself a timeline for this rebuild, which is to win a ring before Damian Lillard retires. He's 35 in real life right now, and he has about 2 seasons left on his contract, so that gives us around at least a decade before that point in game to win a championship. So with that out of the way, let's get into the first season. This was the first season for the Blazers without LaMarcus Aldridge as he moved to the Spurs during the summer. In real life, the Blazers finished 44-38 and reached the second round of the playoffs, being eliminated by the Warriors. So it would be nice to finish around that in year 1. I didn't make any moves for the first season as I would like to see how the current roster would do. I do this for every rebuild. The starting lineup was Lillard at the 1, CJ McCollum at the 2, Al-Farouq Aminu at the small forward, Noah Vonleh at the 4, and Plum Dog at center. The bench looked like Gerald Henderson, Alan Crabb, Horace Harkless, the GOAT Myers Leonard, and Ed Davis. I forgot to mention at the start that I'll be simulating each game as this game is kind of easy to play on even after All-Star difficulty, so that just ensures that the different roster moves and management changes I make are the factors affecting our performance. So as I simulated all the way to the All-Star break, the team was around 19-37 and 14th in the West. Pretty horrific start, and injuries to our starting guards definitely doesn't help. But despite the team's form, Lillard was still voted as an All-Star. Things didn't get much better towards the end of the season as the team finished 29-53 and was 13th in the West. Obviously a much worse season in real life, but at least it gives us a chance to get a high lottery pick in the draft next year. Dame finishes the season averaging 27, 4, and 9 and averaged over 55% from threes. I set the sliders to keep the stats fairly realistic, but because of Dame's build, it kind of gets inflated. CJ McCollum is our second highest scorer, averaging 17 on the field goal percentage of 58. Also, 2 players didn't even play a single game all season. Dart came in. In the season where the Warriors broke the all-time win record in real life, the Rockets had the first seed going to the playoffs with a 62-20 record, behind an MVP season from James Harden. The Rockets cruised to the finals, becoming the first team to win a ring in the save, beating the Bulls in 5. So it's a pretty disappointing season for us, but at least going to next season, we'll have a high spot in the draft to get a good player. Before starting year 2, I increased the salary cap to match the increase in real life around this time, which allowed KD to go to the Warriors. I denied the team option for the 2 players that didn't play last season, which was Chris Kaman and point guard Brian Roberts, to make up space for the 2 draft players I'll be bringing in. We were projected 4th in the draft, but we actually fell all the way down to 6th, so it's kind of a shame. We'll miss out on players like Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Malik Beasley, who was projected at first instead of Ben Simmons. Projected 6th was Donovan Mitchell, who I decided to draft as I'm not taking Ben Simmons or Luke Kennard over him. He's the best player available. For our second round pick, I picked up forward Perry Ellis with a 34th pick. I don't know if he's a generated player or not, but I still took him as he has the highest potential. I released Kaman and Roberts and gave extensions to everyone who was on an expiring deal. I didn't want to give an extension to Henderson as I planned to move him on next season now that we had D-Mitch. I wanted to give one to Alan Crabb, but his morale was too low, so I couldn't offer him one. The only player I actually gave an extension to was the GOAT Myers Leonard, 11 million for 4 years. I didn't pick up any free agents, so the starting lineup stayed the same except for Perry Ellis filling in for Noah Vonleh and Donovan Mitchell coming off the bench. In real life, the Blazers were 41-41 in the 2016-17 season and made the first round of the playoffs, being eliminated by the Warriors again. We were in much better form by the All-Star break compared to last season, as we were 27-32. Not great, but it's still an improvement. Players like Dame, McCollum, Myers Leonard, and Aminu suffered injuries, but again, we were having a slightly better season. Dame was voted an All-Star yet again, and we finished the season 34-48. 5 wins better than last season, but we were still below 500, and we're 13th in the West. By the end of the season, Crabbe still didn't want an extension, so we'll have to make a decision about him next season. The Cavs had the best league record, and the Rockets had the first seed in the West again following another MVP from Harden. He met the Cavs in the finals, and the Rockets came out victorious yet again. Harden clinched both his second consecutive ring and consecutive finals MVP. In this save, it feels like he's having the career Curry was having in real life. Oh, what could have been. We moved on to the 3rd season, and we were projected 8th in the draft lottery. Somehow, we actually moved up all the way up to the 2nd pick of the draft, behind the Bulls in 1st. We got even more lucky as some random by the name of Marshall Sengun was projected as the 1st pick, so that means we could easily pick up Jason Tatum with the 2nd pick. With our 2nd round, as both of our shooting guards were on expiring deals, I decided to pick up Lee Lewis, a 2 guard from Britain. I let both Henderson and Crabbe go, and I then went to look for a new center. Plum Dog just won't cut it. I tried to look for a realistic candidate, but for example, the Heat won't give up Hassan Whiteside because they didn't have Bam. Dwight won't work as he just won 2 rings with the Rockets, and the Jazz definitely won't let Gobert go on an expiring deal. Andrew Bogut ended up being my candidate. Yes, he had 1 year left on his contract, but the Warriors already had him him out by this time in real life, so I decided to make the trade for him. I sent out some low-rated players, which included Ed Davis, Luis Montero, and Cliff Alexander. I also threw in 2 first-rounders for good measure. And just like that, Bogut was a Trailblazer. And I gave him $26 million for 4 years after. I also gave extensions to Amino, McCollum, Noah Vonleh, and Mason Plumlee. I was already pretty much done with my roster, but as the first day of the free agency came, I took a quick look at the list and saw that LaMarcus Aldridge was a free agent. Now, I knew I needed to keep the rebuild realistic, but a 5-star free agent that's already a great fit for the team being available, plus the prospect of pairing Aldridge with Damian Lillard in his prime was just too good to pass up. So yes, it is slightly unrealistic and will definitely ruin our salary cap for the future, but I gave Aldridge a deal for $35 million for 4 years, and just like that, he was a Blazer once again. With Aldridge back on the Blazers, the team looked a lot better. Dame at the 1, McCollum at the 2, Jason Tatum at the 3, Aldridge at 4, and Bogut was our starting center. The bench looked great too. D. Mitch, Alfred Camino, Mason Plumlee, and Noah Vonleh. We were the 6th best team in the league, so things looked really positive heading into the season. Also, these are some weird free agency moves that I wanted to cover. LeBron left the Cavs to go to the Magic. Curry left the Warriors to go to the Raptors. So from that, you'd think that the West would be pretty wide open, but it wouldn't, as Russell Westbrook left OKC to join the reigning champion Rockets in free agency. Adding on to a stacked Rockets team, there was just no hope in the West. We simulated all the way to the All-Star break and we were 38-19, second in the West. Both Dame and Aldridge were All-Stars, and as we moved towards the end of the season, the Blazers were 51-31 and were division champions, surpassing the team's season in real life as they were 49-33. Both Dame and Aldridge averaged over 20 points, and Dame was All-NBA first team. Tatum was also in the All-Rookie team. Also, shout out to Alan Crabb, who won the Most Improved Player award, averaging 14. Despite their team success, the Rockets still held the first seed with the best record in the league. Pretty expected, as they had Harden, CP3, Dwight Howard, and Russell Westbrook off the bench. Also, Dwight Howard won his 6th DPOY, so that's pretty crazy. In the first round, we were matched up against the 7th seeded Mavs. We won our first game of the series at home, 109-94, behind 32 from Aldridge. We make it 2 in a row with a double-digit lead, but we do fall in an away game in Game 3, 107-97. We do make it 3-1 after winning 29 away in Dallas, and we take the series back to Portland with a chance to close it out, where the team pulls a smooth win to close out the series in 5. We came up against the 3rd-seeded Timberwolves in round 2. Of course, after coming off a pretty strong series, we would then lose 3 games in a row against the Timberwolves, 111-104, 119-115, and 110-97. The team was cooked, simple as that, and the series looked already over. But somehow, despite that, the Blazers pulled off an away win to force Game 5. Back in Portland, the Blazers blew out the Timberwolves to send the series into 6. And back in Minnesota for Game 6, the Blazers won yet again, 124-106. Somehow, the team had won 3 straight games after conceding 3 straight games. So the series headed back to Portland for Game 7. By the 4th quarter, the Blazers were already up 8, and things played out pretty smoothly. The lead never conceded, and the gap never crossed below 8 points. And somehow, after losing 3 straight games, the Blazers got through Game 7 and were in the Western Conference Finals, the first time they had reached it since 2000. Of course, Portland would face the first seed, the Houston Rockets. The team who had just won the last 2 rings and had just won 67 games. As much as I'd like to say that we put up a fight, the Rockets sweeped us in the conference finals, winning every game pretty smoothly and closing out the series in 4. This series loss stinged even more, seeing as the Rockets weren't even the champ, as LeBron led the Magic to their first ever ring in 7 games. So it's pretty heartbreaking, but it's clear that this is a great season to build up on and improve the team further to reach the finals. Starting off year 4, we had to prepare a new contract for Dame, and with the intention of trading for a new player, I knew I needed to clear up some cap space. I chose not to re-sign Maurice Harkless, and while they have been valiant servants across the past few seasons, I wanted to clear up both Plumlee's and Leonard's contracts and get a new backup center for Bogut. I decided to go for Clint Capella. He was on $11 million for the next 2 years and was a developing young player on the Rockets, so it would be nice to weaken our biggest conference rival. I sent out both Plumlee and Leonard, as well as a future second-round pick to get him. I wanted a new forward, and I decided to trade away Alfred Camino. He's been a great player the past 3 seasons, but he's 28 and on $19 million for the next 4 years. He'd be a good asset for another team. I also decided to trade Perry Ellis away. Yes, he's still developing, but with both Mitchell's and Tatum's massive extensions being a guarantee, it would be nice to eliminate another big extension early on. And again, he would be a valuable asset for another team. I decided to trade for Philadelphia's Robert Covington. He's the same age as Aminu, but on a contract $3 million cheaper, and is averaging more points and rated higher, so he'd be a good pickup. I traded both Aminu and Ellis away, plus a future first to make Covington a Blazer. 2018 was a loaded draft, but we'll miss out on the likes of Luka, Shea, Brunson, as we're all the way down in 26. The first overall pick in real life, DeAndre Ayton, was still not selected by the time our pick came, so I decided to pick him up. For our 44th pick, I didn't really really need any other players, so I just drafted a name I knew, which was Dante DiVincenzo. I signed both of them on, and the roster looked stronger than ever. Both Lillard and Aldridge were maxed out, and both McCollum and Covington were in the 90s. Bogut was still our starting center, with both Capella and DeAndre Ayton being able to fill in from the bench, and players such as Dimich, Tatum, and Noah Vonleh can strengthen our team further from the bench. By the All-Star break, we were 36 and 22, with Aldridge and Lillard both being All-Stars yet again. We finished on the same amount of wins as last year, 51 and 31, with Aldridge being in the All-NBA first team. But despite that, we were all the way down in the 5th seed, as teams like the Jazz, the Thunder, and the Nuggets also made huge leaps this season. The majority of our team was scoring in the double digits on good efficiency, so I was still optimistic going into the playoffs. There was one problem though. Clint Capella only played in one game all season long, and it was actually Ayton who came off the bench for Bogut, so it's safe to say that the trade for Capella was kind of nothing but to clear up cap space. The Blazers faced the 4th seeded Nuggets, where away in Denver we lost in game 1, but we quickly bounced back with an away win to tie the series. Back home in Portland for game 3, the Blazers secured another win to take the lead, but we lost the following game to go 2-2. Back in Denver, the team secured a comfortable win to go into game 6 at home with a chance to seal the series, which the team did behind a triple-double from Dame. Unfortunately, we met the Rockets in the second round, where we lost in game 1 away in Houston behind 37 points from Harden. We bounced back with a game 2 victory, but Houston won game 3 in Portland by a 22-point margin after 38 points from CP3. Despite 34 points from Dame, Portland fell once again in game 4 as the Rockets won yet again. But away in Houston, the Blazers forced a game 6 with a win, but we lost back at home by 8 points. Another year of being sent home early from the playoffs. Finals MVP Mike Conley led the Pistons to the 2019 title, and just like that, we're on to our 5th season. I accepted the team option on Donovan Mitchell's contract, but as for our coach Terry Stotts, I decided to let him go. Despite reaching the playoffs for the past 2 seasons, I think the team would fare better with a coach of a higher level. So since we had some good shooting from beyond the arc, I think having a coach more focused on outside offense would work better. So I went after Stan Van Gundy, who in this save had just led the Pistons to the title but was weirdly let go. So I offered him a contract of $15 million for 5 years to come coach the Blazers. Now, since I had traded away this year's draft picks, no new players came from the draft that brought Zion Williamson and John Moran into the league. I opted to get a shooting guard to help out with our team shooting, so I first went through the free agents list, but then I decided to make a trade instead. I decided to trade for Jordan Clarkson of the Pelicans. Being 27 years old on a contract worth $15 million, it's a move that won't hurt our salary cap, but bring in more scoring off the bench, as he has averaged almost 16 the past 4 seasons on a 3-point percentage of 45%. So I sent out Lee Lewis, the second round player we picked up on our 3rd season, and Clint Capella, since again we only played them in one game last season. I threw in both picks from the 2022 draft to seal the deal. So now the roster stayed mostly the same except for Noah Vonleh starting at center instead of Bogut, and Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench for McCollum. By the All-Star break, the team sat at the 4th seed with 35 wins and 24 losses, with both Dame and Aldridge becoming All-Stars yet again. By the end of the season, the team climbed up to the 3rd seed and finished with 54 wins, our highest so far in this rebuild. Dame and Aldridge averaged close to 20. Dimich took McCollum's starting spot as he averages 12 points. Covington averages 15 with a 99% free throw percentage, and Vonleh does pretty well in his first season starting at the 5, averaging more points than Bogut the season before. In the first round of the playoffs, we faced the Houston Rockets, which would normally be a scary sight until you realize they're the 6th seed now. The Blazers clinched the win at home, winning by only 2 points, and took the next game to take the series lead 2-0. Away in Houston, the Blazers won yet another close game, 119-117, but the Rockets bounced back with a 118-115 win at home. But back in Portland for game 5, the Blazers closed out the series with a win, finally beating the Rockets after being eliminated by them for 2 years in a row. In the second round, we faced 7th-seeded OKC at home for game 1, where the Blazers won smoothly, but the Thunder took game 2 to tie the series heading back home. In OKC, the Thunder won at home 128-120 to take the lead in the series, but in game 4, the Blazers won quite convincingly with a 39-point blowout. Heading back to Portland, tied at 2-2, the Thunder took the lead with a 124-109 win in Portland, but the Blazers recovered away in OKC to send the series to 7. But as close the series had been all throughout, by the 4th quarter of game 7, Portland led by over 22 points and would cruise to the end with an easy 108-82 victory to end the series in 7 and reach the conference finals. Portland met the Memphis Grizzlies, and in game 1 ended in a blowout win 132-97 to take the lead of the series. A close win in Portland gave a 2-0 lead to the Blazers, but as the series headed to Memphis, the Grizzlies secured a game 3 win. Still in Memphis for game 4, the Blazers won by 10 points to take the series to 3-1, but as Memphis faced potential elimination in game 5, they forced the series to 6 after a 36-point win in Portland. Despite the large margin, Portland bounced back in game 6 with an 11-point win, closing the series, and finally reaching the finals for the first time since 1992. We were up against the reigning champions, the Detroit Pistons. We had home court advantage for game 1, but behind 33 points from last year's Finals MVP Mike Conley, the Pistons took a commanding win with a gap of over 28 points. Game 2 also didn't go so well, with another loss thanks to a 30-point game from Eric Bledsoe. On top of that, Bogut suffered an injury in that game, so it's obvious things weren't looking so great. Going away to Detroit for Game 3, and despite a 30-point game from LaMarcus Aldridge, it wasn't enough to win the game, and we were 3-0 down in the finals. It looked like it was over. Detroit was going to sweep us in the finals and win the ring in their home stadium. But in Game 4, Dame locked in with 36 points and 13 assists to secure the win. At first, it seemed lucky, but then we secured a 1-point win in Game 5 back at home as Lillard scored over 33. Detroit still had the chance to win the title in their home ground in Game 6, but they lost 134 to 116. And just like that, after losing 3 straight, the Blazers tied it up to bring it to Game 7. It was a miracle, and we just have to hope that it ended the same way it did against Minnesota 2 seasons ago. We were back at home for Game 7, and it started off with a deep range 2 from Hassan Whiteside, which was followed up on the other end by a lob to Covington. The scoring was back and forth until a Dame 3 started an 11-point streak for the Blazers, where the Pistons didn't score until Eric Bledsoe completed a 4-point play with an and 1-3. The first quarter ended with a Noah Vonleh dunk coming off an assist from Jordan Clarkson. The Blazers held a lead of 10 points going into the second quarter, and their field goal percentage was almost double that of Detroit. Aldridge popped off with over 12 points in just the first quarter, hitting 6 of his 7 shots. The second quarter kicked off with a DiVincenzo layup. The Pistons got 2 points back with a dunk for a Tatum jumper led to a Detroit timeout. Clarkson 3 grew the lead to 13 points. Dame made a deep 2 before another Clarkson 3 made it 8 points scored consecutively without an answer from Detroit. Clarkson floater made it 10 before an Eric Bledsoe 3 finally put some points on the board for Detroit. Vonleh made another dunk in the final seconds of the game, but Mike Conley sinks in a buzzer-beating 3 to whittle the lead down to 13 going into the second half. The third quarter started with a Dame 3 and a Mike Conley layup to respond. Lillard sank in another 3 and Mike Conley responded with another layup. Aldridge 2, Harris 2. Scoring was back and forth, but the lead persisted. By the end of the third quarter, the score was 83 and 68. A 15-point lead in Game 7 is pretty nice. The last quarter started with a Tobias Harris dunk before a brick 3 from D-Mitch led to a fast break, which ended in another Tobias Harris 2. D-Mitch missed again, and Harris makes another shot. 6 points were conceded in less than a minute, and the lead was down to 9 points. A Tatum 3 finally put some points on the board in the fourth quarter for the Blazers. Vonleh throws down a lob from D-Mitch, and on the other end, Jared Vanderbilt makes a tough jump shot. Mike Conley makes a 3, cutting the lead down to 6, and after a missed lob, the ball was in Detroit's hands yet again. Mike Conley fumbled it though, and Lillard dunked it out on the other end. Conley makes up for it with a layup. Lillard makes a corner 3, and Conley goes up for a layup, but is denied by Covington, and Dame converts another 3. A Tatum shot leads to a Bledsoe 3, cutting the lead down to 7. Covington converts and extends the lead to 9 before Conley responds with a layup of his own. Aldridge makes a floater before Whiteside responds with one of his own. Covington scores and Harris responds, but a Tatum 3 keeps the lead at 10. With less than a minute left, Whiteside makes a floater before a Dame 3 extends the lead to 11. Whiteside responds with a long dunk, but Lillard later converts another 3. Conley takes a shot, but the ball is turned over, and this is where Lillard decides to just dribble the ball out. The clock winds down, and it's over. After losing 3 games in a row and then winning 3 in a row, the Blazers secured a Game 7 win to finally win the NBA Finals, the first time since 1977. Lillard went off with over 43 points and 11 threes, the most in a Game 7 in the Finals. Tatum scored 26, Aldridge scored 16 from the center position, and just like that, after a rebuild spanning over 5 seasons, Portland are NBA champions once again. Lillard wins the Finals MVP and is probably immortalized as Portland's greatest ever player. And still, despite this win, the future looks pretty bright for this team. The copium in this video is strong for me. That ends the challenge here. This was a fun little rebuild, and I'll definitely do more in the future along with other videos. So if you like this video, stick around, subscribe, and wait for the video that'll eventually come out. So yeah, with that, goodbye.